Before we begin, look at these images carefully. Don't ask what they are. Ask yourself one question: how are they possible? These objects should not exist, not because they are fake, not because they are myths. Every single object you are about to see is real. It has been examined by scientists. It has been tested in laboratories. It sits in museums right now where anyone can go and look at it. The problem is not that these objects exist. The problem is when they exist. Every one of these objects was found in a place or a time where it should have been completely impossible to create, according to everything we know about human history, according to everything we know about technology, according to everything we know about when certain materials were first discovered. These objects should not be here, and yet here they are. The objects that shouldn't exist, but do. Stay with me, because object number 7 is the one that no scientist, no historian, and no archaeologist has ever been able to fully explain, not in over 100 years of trying. These are real. Every object in this video exists. You can visit most of them right now, and once you know what they are and why they should not exist, you will never look at human history the same way again. Welcome to Retro Remind Network, the channel that pulls out the stories the world was never supposed to forget. Human history is a timeline, and on that timeline, we know roughly when things were invented, when the wheel was first used, when metals were first smelted, when electricity was first harnessed, when certain tools were first created. The objects in this video break that timeline. Some of them appear thousands of years too early. Some of them demonstrate knowledge that humanity was not supposed to have for centuries, and some of them nobody has ever been able to explain at all. 10 objects, 10 impossible questions. Let us begin. Object 1. The Antikythera Mechanism. In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers were sheltering from a storm near the island of Antikythera. When the storm passed, they dived into the waters below and found a Roman shipwreck inside the wreck. Among statues, coins, and pottery, they found something that should not have been a real lump of corroded bronze, about the size of a large book covered in gears. The ship had sunk approximately 2,100 years ago, around 87 BC, and what was inside that lump of corroded bronze was a fully functioning astronomical computer. Scientists spent decades studying it. X-ray technology in the 1970s, advanced CT scanning in 2006. What they found inside was extraordinary. The Antikythera mechanism contained at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, some as thin as half a millimeter. It could predict the positions of the sun and moon. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses. It tracked the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games. It had a dial that showed the positions of the 5 planets visible to the naked eye, and it had an instruction manual engraved on the casing in ancient Greek. Here is the problem: gear technology of this complexity was not supposed to exist in the ancient world. The next device of comparable mechanical sophistication that humanity produced was a medieval astronomical clock built in Europe in the 14th century. Add that is a gap of approximately 1,400 years. The Antikythera mechanism was built 2,100 years ago. It is more sophisticated than anything else humanity produced for the next 14 centuries. We do not know who built it. We do not know how they built it. We do not know if other devices like it existed and were lost. We know almost nothing except that it exists, and it should not. Object to the Voynich Manuscript. This book is 600 years old. It is written in a language that nobody has ever deciphered. It contains illustrations of plants that do not exist anywhere in the natural world. It contains astronomical diagrams that do not match any known star system. It contains drawings of human figures immersed in green liquid in structures that look nothing like anything from the medieval world. It is called the Voynich Manuscript, and it is one of the most studied, most analyzed, and most completely baffling documents in the history of human civilization. The manuscript was first brought to public attention in 1912 when a Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from a Jesuit college in Italy. Carbon dating has placed its creation at between 1,404 and 1,438, making it approximately 600 years old. Since then, it has been studied by the world's greatest code breakers. During the Second World War, military intelligence agencies attempted to decipher it as National Security Agency, arguably the most sophisticated code-breaking organization in human history, attempted to decipher it. They failed. Here is what makes it truly impossible. Statistical analysis of the text shows that it is not random. The letters follow patterns. The same words appear in the same positions relative to each other. The text has the statistical signature of a real language. It obeys rules, but nobody has ever found the key to those rules. Some scholars believe it is an elaborate hoax created by a medieval forger, but the text is too consistent, too statistically regular, and too lengthy for a random invention. A hoaxer would have had to maintain perfect statistical consistency across 240 pages of handwritten text without making a single pattern-breaking error for no apparent profit. Others believe it contains knowledge. Medical, botanic. Object 3. The Baghdad Battery. This jar is 2,000 years old. It was discovered near Baghdad in 1938 by German archaeologist Wilhelm Nick. It is made of clay. Inside it, a copper cylinder. Inside the cylinder, an iron rod held in place with asphalt. Wilhelm Nick looked at it and made a suggestion that shocked the archaeological world. He suggested it was a battery. In 1940, an American physicist named Willard Gray filled a replica of the jar with grape juice because grape juice has an acidity similar to the vinegar or citric acid that would have been available in ancient Mesopotamia. He connected the copper and iron with wires. He measured the voltage produced. The replica produced approximately 1.1 volts of electricity. For context, a standard AA battery produces 1.5 volts. Here is the problem. Alessandro Volta is credited with inventing the electric battery in 1800, and the Baghdad Battery predates his invention by approximately 2,000 years. If this jar was indeed used as a battery and experiments have confirmed that it can generate electricity, then someone in ancient Mesopotamia, 2,000 years ago, understood the basic principles of electrochemical energy generation centuries before anyone in the modern world had even conceived of the idea. What was it used for? Nobody knows for certain. Some researchers suggest electroplating, coating objects in a thin layer of gold or silver using electrical current. Archaeological objects from the same period have been found in the region that show an unusually thin and even coating of precious metal consistent with electroplating rather than traditional gilding techniques. Others say it is simply a storage jar, that Nick's interpretation was wrong, that the shape is a coincidence. The Baghdad Battery is currently held in the Iraq Museum in Baghdad. It is approximately 2,000 years old, and it generates electricity. Object 4. The London Hammer. In 1936, a couple named Max and Emma Hahn were hiking near the town of London in Texas. They found a rock with a piece of wood sticking out of it. They took it home. It sat in their house for years. In 1947, their son broke open the rock. Inside was an iron hammer with a wooden handle. The rock encasing the hammer was later analyzed. It was identified as Cretaceous-era limestone, which in that region of Texas would have formed over a period of millions of years. The iron of the hammer head was tested. Its composition was found to be 96.6% iron, extraordinarily pure by any standard, and it contained 0.74% chlorine, a concentration of chlorine in iron alloy that modern metallurgists cannot reproduce even with modern technology. Here is the problem. Iron smelting. The process of extracting and working iron was first developed by humanity approximately 3,000 to 100 years ago. If the geological dating of the surrounding rock is accurate, this hammer was made long before iron smelting existed, long before human beings existed at all. Mainstream scientists have offered an explanation. They suggest that the rock formed around the hammer relatively recently, not millions of years ago, through a process called concretion, where minerals can accumulate around an object much faster than geological timescales would suggest. But the iron composition remains unexplained. An iron alloy of that purity and that chlorine concentration has never been produced in any known smelting process, ancient or modern. The London Hammer is on display in Texas. You can visit it. The rock that formed around it is still there, and nobody has fully explained how an iron alloy of that composition came to exist. Object 5. The Saqqara Bird. This object was found in an Egyptian tomb in 1898. It is approximately 2,100 years old. It is made of sycamore wood. It is 14 centimeters long, and it was filed away in a Cairo museum for 71 years, labeled simply as a bird carving, until an Egyptian archaeologist named Khalil Messiah noticed something extraordinary about it in 1969. It does not look like any bird. It has straight horizontal wings, unlike any bird, which has curved or angled wings designed for flapping flight. It has no legs, no feet, no carved feathers, but it does have something that no known bird has: a vertical tail fin. A vertical tail fin is found on exactly one thing in the natural world. Nothing. It does not exist in nature. It is a feature found exclusively on human-designed flying machines. In 1996, a model builder named Martin Gregory constructed a replica of the Saqqara bird from the exact same proportions as the original, adding only a small missing piece to the tail. He tested it in a wind tunnel. It generated lift. It was aerodynamically stable. With a slight modification to the tail, it flew. The Wright brothers achieved the first powered flight in 1903. The Saqqara bird is 2,200 years old. Mainstream Egyptologists say it is simply a ceremonial or decorative bird carving, and that this similarity to a modern glider is coincidental. The proportions just happen to be aerodynamic by chance. Others ask a different question: if it is just a bird, why does it have a vertical tail fin that no bird has ever had? And why does it fly? Object 6. The Dendera Lamps. The Temple of Hathor at Dendera, Egypt, over 2,000 years old. On the walls of an underground chamber in this temple, there are carvings, and some of those carvings look exactly like electric light bulbs. Each carving shows a large, elongated bulb shape sitting on a pedestal that resembles an insulator. Inside each bulb, a serpent in a stretched, straight position that bears a striking resemblance to a filament. At the base of each carving, a shape that resembles a cable or electrical connection. In 1998, an Austrian engineer named Walter Gahn built a working replica based on the proportions of the carvings. When connected to a modern power source, the replica worked as a lamp. It produced light. Mainstream Egyptologists have a different explanation. They say the carvings are symbolic religious imagery. The serpent represents the god Sobek, or Re. The bulb shape represents the womb of the sky goddess Nut. And the entire composition is a mythological rather than a technical illustration. Both explanations are reasonable. Neither can be definitively proven. But here is the question: that the mythological explanation does not fully answer. The interior of the Great Pyramid at Giza, the deepest chambers, the tunnels they contain, no soot, no carbon deposits on the walls or ceilings, no evidence of torches or oil lamps having been burned inside. If the ancient Egyptians painted the interior of their tombs and temples in total darkness, which they clearly did, and they did not use torches, what did they use for light? Nobody has answered that question satisfactorily, and the carvings at Dendera remain exactly what they appear to be. Object 7. The Iron Nail in the Devonian Rock. This is the story that no scientist has ever fully explained. In 1844, workers at a quarry near the town of Kincardine in Scotland were breaking up blocks of Devonian sandstone. One of the workers split a large block of rock and embedded inside in the solid stone, surrounded completely by the rock on all sides, was an iron nail. The discovery was examined and documented by Sir David Brewster, one of the most respected scientists of the Victorian era, a Fellow of the Royal Society, a man whose reputation was impeccable, and whose scientific credentials were beyond question. He examined the nail, he examined the rock, he submitted a report to the British Association for the Advancement of Science. His conclusion was simple and devastating. The nail was genuine, the rock was genuine, and the rock was Devonian sandstone formed approximately 360 to 415 million years ago. The first iron tools created by human beings date to approximately 1200 BC. That is approximately 3,200 years ago. If the geological dating is accurate, the iron nail in the Kincardine sandstone predates the existence of human beings on Earth by approximately 359 million years. It predates the existence of any primates by a similar margin. It predates even the first dinosaurs. The standard scientific explanation is contamination, that the nail was somehow introduced into the rock after formation. Perhaps it fell into a crack that was not visible. Perhaps the dating is wrong. But Sir David Brewster, a man who built his career on precision, examined the rock carefully and found no evidence of any crack or opening through which the nail could have been introduced. The nail was surrounded by solid, unbroken rock on all sides. The nail itself disappeared at some point in the decades after Brewster's report. It cannot be retested with modern equipment. All that remains is Brewster's report submitted to the British Association for the Advancement of Science in 1844 documenting an iron nail in a rock that is 400 million years old. Object 8. The Nazca Lines. These drawings cover an area of 450 square kilometers in the Peruvian desert. They were created by the Nazca people between 500 BC and 500 AD. They consist of hundreds of individual figures, geometric shapes, straight lines extending for kilometers, and drawings of animals including a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey, a condor, and a humanoid figure that has been interpreted in many different ways. Here is the problem: the Nazca lines can only be seen from the air at ground level. They appear to be simple grooves in the dirt. There is nothing remarkable about them when viewed from the ground. Their true form, their extraordinary scale and precision, only becomes apparent from above from a height of several hundred meters. The Nazca people had no aircraft, no hot air balloons, no way to see their own work from above, which raises the question that has never been satisfactorily answered. Who were they making these drawings for? The straight lines extend for kilometers without deviating by more than a few centimeters across hills, across gullies, across uneven terrain. They maintain their straightness with a precision that modern surveying equipment would struggle to match. UNESCO declared the Nazca Lines a World Heritage Site in 1994. They are studied continuously by archaeologists and scientists from around the world. Multiple theories have been proposed: astronomical calendar, ritual pathway, water map, offering to gods. None of the theories fully explains why a civilization with no ability to fly would create images whose full meaning only becomes visible from the air. Object 9. The map of the creator. In 1999, a professor at Bashkia State University in Russia named Alexander Chuvarov was searching for old Chinese migration maps when a local resident told him about a large stone slab they had found near their house. Chuvarov examined the slab, and what he found required him to call in geologists, mathematicians, physicists, and cartographers. The stone was approximately 1.5 meters by 1 meter by 0.16 meters. It weighed approximately 1 ton, and its surface was covered in a three-dimensional relief map showing a region corresponding to the southern Ural Mountains of Russia with extraordinary accuracy. The map showed rivers, mountain ranges, valleys, and what appeared to be a network of channels or canals up to 500 meters wide. It also appeared to show two airports or runway-like structures, each 12 kilometers wide. Researchers dated the stone to approximately 120 million years ago based on the shell fossils embedded in its surface. Then the geological analysis revealed something even more extraordinary. The map was made from 3 layers of different materials: a thick base of dolomite, a layer of diopside glass on top, and a surface coating of calcium porcelain. None of these materials occur naturally. Together, all 3 had been deliberately applied and processed. Creating diopside glass requires processing at temperatures that are only achievable with modern industrial equipment. Mainstream scientists dispute the dating and the interpretation. The stone has not been accepted by the broader scientific community as a genuine ancient map, but it exists, and the material composition of its surface 3 engineered layers, including processed glass, has not been satisfactorily explained by natural processes. Object 10. The stone spheres of Costa Rica. Spread across the Diquis Delta of Costa Rica and on the island of Isla del Cielo, there are hundreds of stone spheres. They range in size from a few centimeters to 2.57 meters in diameter. The largest ones weigh up to 15 tons. They are made of granodiorite, an extremely hard igneous rock similar to granite, and they are almost perfectly spherical. The almost is important. The largest spheres deviate from a perfect sphere by less than half a centimeter across their entire surface. Across a sphere 2.5 meters in diameter. That is a precision of less than 0.2%. They were created by the Colombian people of Costa Rica, the Diquis culture, between 600 AD and 1000 AD, and here is what makes them extraordinary. Granodiorite cannot be carved. It is too hard. It cannot be smoothed with tools of the kind available to Colombian culture: stone tools, bone tools, wooden tools. Modern stonemasons use diamond-tipped tools and industrial grinding equipment to work granite-type rocks. Researchers have proposed that the spheres were created by a technique called knapping, chipping away at the rock combined with grinding with sand and water, but no experiment has ever successfully reproduced a sphere of comparable size and precision using only the tools available to the Dikwis people. The spheres were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2014. Over 300 have been identified. Many were moved from their original locations during the banana plantation era of the early 20th century, so their original arrangement is mostly lost. Some researchers believe the arrangement was astronomical, some believe they were territorial markers, some believe they were symbols of power. Nobody knows how they were made with such precision, nobody knows what they mean, and nobody has ever reproduced one. 10 objects, 10 impossible questions, 10 things that our understanding of human history cannot fully explain. A mechanical computer built 2,100 years ago, more sophisticated than anything produced for the next 14 centuries, a 600-year-old book, written in a language nobody has ever deciphered, a clay jar from 2,000 years ago that generates electricity, an iron hammer with a metallurgical composition that modern technology cannot reproduce, a wooden carving that FLIs stone carvings that look like electric light bulbs, an iron nail in a 400-million-year-old rock drawings that can only be seen from the air, made by people who could not fly. A stone map made with engineered glass and stone spheres of impossible precision. History is not finished, it is not settled, it is not complete. Every year new discoveries are made that force us to reconsider what we thought we knew about who came before us and what they were capable of. The objects in this video are not proof of anything, they are questions, and the fact that those questions remain unanswered after decades of study, after centuries of science, after all of the technology and knowledge that we have accumulated, that is what makes them extraordinary. If this video made you think, if any one of these objects made you question what you thought you knew, please subscribe to Retro Remind Network. We find the stories the world was never supposed to forget. Share this with someone who loves history and mystery. Leave a comment. Which object shocked you the most? Which one do you think has the most convincing explanation? And which one is still completely impossible to you? I will see you in the next one.